We're going to talk to Kyler Murray's longtime friend and trainer, Stephen Baca. He's going to join us on this edition of Locked On Cardinals, and then we're going to get the unthinkable to happen. Well, actually, we're going to do that first. We're going to get Alex Clancy to give Cliff Kingsbury, Cliffy baby, a well-deserved apology. It's coming up on this edition of Locked On Cardinals. We're your host, Bo Brack, Alex Clancy.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, fired up, rise up, Red Sea. It's Locked On Cardinals, part of your Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We always appreciate you tuning in, making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every morning. It's just an honor to talk to everybody. We see the chat on YouTube. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, I highly suggest that you do so. Subscribe so you don't miss any of the action. We're premiering episodes every weekday at 10 a.m. except for, of course, after the Arizona Cardinals play. We've got our halftime show there, and then we've got our post-game podcast that usually airs just a few hours after the game. Bo Brack, Alex Clancy. Follow us on Twitter at Bob Brack. This is the way to find me at Clancy's Corner. That opened to our show. We spoke to some ASU students a couple just hours ago, actually, Alex, and they were like, "Hey, why are there squeaking basketball shoes in your?" And I couldn't answer the young man. I didn't have an answer for him, but that's just what we got. Okay, we might change it, but we have no idea. That was the toughest question I had to answer out of all those.
Yeah, and once again, you let more people down, which, surprised nobody. What's the football sound? Is it tackling the or whatever? There's not like a real football sound. Basketball kind of has that. Basketball and baseball really have that market cornered in the crack of the bat. The fans and everything, but football doesn't really have a sound except for people bludgeoning each other with the head first.
Just everybody getting CTE all at once. That's the sound bite for football. You mentioned baseball, the one wild card game in the books as of now, another one on tap tonight. Check out our friends over at Locked On MLB, all the great shows. If you want more insight on any of the teams in the postseason, check out their the respective podcasts. Great work they're doing over there at Locked On MLB. So we're going to talk to Stephen Baca. He is the longtime friend and trainer of Kyler Murray, an MVP frontrunner. He's had an incredible start to the season. He's leading the way for the 4-0 Arizona Cardinals. And a little update for you all. The Arizona Cardinals, according to our Locked On Podcast Network power rankings, the Cardinals did not come in number one, just as Alex and I had predicted. The Buffalo Bills, they get the top spot. They kind of pull one over. They were able to be like the Nuke Hopkins and kind of go over the Hail Mary and steal the number one spot from the Arizona Cardinals. Actually, the Arizona Cardinals were third. Highway robbery. The Arizona Cardinals were third. The Buccaneers were two. It's just strange to me, Alex, because the Arizona Cardinals, the only undefeated team in the NFL, and then the Locked On Podcast Network hosts, if any of you are listening, I'm talking to you directly. You had no problem anointing the Los Angeles Rams, the number one team, a week ago after the win over the Bucs, and then the Arizona Cardinals quickly dispose of the Rams. Blow the doors off the Rams. No question about that, who won that game, or it never was in the balance, but yet they're hesitant to give the Cardinals the top spot.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If there's another podcast platform out there that wants two Arizona Cardinals hosts, we're open for business. I mean, the disrespect from the Locked On Podcast NFL hosts, it's a travesty, it's a sham, it's a mockery, it's a Travis Sham mockery. Thank you, Bill Odenkirk, for one of the first moments you entered my life with that commercial. It's expected. I mean, I think the Bills should – I voted for the Bills to be number one. I think I put the Cardinals at number two just because the Bills have been there before. It's like what we talked about last podcast. It's how are you defining this? Is it best right now through 4 weeks? Is it record alone? Are there different nuanced things to where it's, the national media and such? ESPN had the Cardinals at 2, I believe, behind Buffalo and just ahead of the Los Angeles Rams. So they're getting the recognition they deserve. You put them at number 1, cool. Put them at number 2, fine. Put them at number 3. I kind of have a problem with it.
It's good fodder for us to talk about, to debate. Pro Football Network had them number one. I think NFL.com had them number one. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And you're right. The criteria, it changes from, hosts to writers to whoever's voting on these. The criteria is different for everybody. But I just think it was pretty easy for somebody to say, you know what? Last undefeated team, good win over the Rams, great win over the Rams. It's the Cardinals. But people are stubborn. They're digging in. People have their reservations about this Arizona Cardinals team. Somebody was, it was your co-host on the Locked On NFL podcast, Tyler Rowland of the Titans. He was telling me that he trusts the Bills defense, the defense that beat up on poor Davis Mills, the rookie quarterback out of Stanford who threw 4 picks, that he trusts the Bills defense. I'm like, Tyler, you watched this Arizona Cardinals defense dominate the Titans for 60 straight minutes. Like, what else do you need? You watched it firsthand. Like, let's not get too smart for the room here. I don't know. Speaking of which, before we get to Stephen Baca, it's time. It's well overdue. People have gotten to my mentions. People have DM'd me, and they said, you have to hold your co-host, Alex Clancy, accountable for what he has said about Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury, who we outlined, is now the odds-on favorite to win the NFL Coach of the Year. We talked about it on Tuesday episode. Good episode. Check it out if you haven't done so already. And that we had a great graphic on our Locked On AZ cards on Twitter where he was actually the front runner to be the first coach fired. So it's like how it started, as Alex kind of described, and where we are now and how it's going. Sorry, I ruined the meme. Anyway, you're going to apologize to Cliff Kingsbury right now. Is that right?
I've never said one ill thing about Cliff Kingsbury. It's obvious that you don't listen to me, and you're a terrible co-host, and you completely misrepresent me. Listen, Cliff Kingsbury has been the surprise of the NFL 2021 season so far, in my opinion, across everything, across the whole landscape, in a positive way. Sure, there's some negative things that have surprised people across the landscape of the NFL. Cliff Kingsbury has grown up. He's grown into his position. We saw this from Kyler from year 1 to year 2, where he kind of came into his own. Cliff, week 1, people said it. I kind of poo-pooed it at the time because he was pretty much yelling at a ref for his own mistake. But case in point was he was yelling at a ref, something we hadn't seen before. He wasn't offering them fruit boxes and fruit baskets and things like that like he was doing during OTAs. It hasn't been perfect, and I'm not always going to just say rainbows and butterflies. They're 4-0. There are things that have happened that have been overcome by the Cardinals having more points on the board at the end of the game than the other team, regardless of how it got there. But all in all, compared to what we've seen through the first 2 years, he's coached as perfectly as you would have ever hoped. Now, the only thing that I will not apologize for is that he doesn't deserve the bump from 2018 to 2019. It was a completely different roster. You give Cliff Kingsbury the roster from 2018, he's fired after year 1. Okay? And I told Stephen Baca, damn it, I'd be positive this whole time. He jumps into our back thing right as I was poo-pooing one thing about Cliff Kingsbury. I promise, Stephen Baca and your glorious beard, that I will not say anything negative from here on out for the next 18 minutes.
Hold on. Okay. You said you apologized, but you never did. I want to hear it.
I ain't apologizing for Jack. I took the information given to me.
And you were wrong. Will you at least admit you were wrong?
Sure.
Okay, let's hear it.
I was wrong. Bringing you on as my damn co-host. That's what I was wrong about. I should have been doing this solo. Yes, Cliff Kingsbury has been incredible. Okay? He's been incredible. I do think that he's gotten bailed out sometimes from his, otherworldly quarterback. But what do we say on our Twitter handle? We spread the gospel of Kyler Murray. We have since day one. Yeah. And I think it's fun. I think it's still a work in progress. And it's going to be fascinating as hell to watch the next 13 weeks of football.
Absolutely. We're going to talk to Kyler Murray, the longtime friend, his trainer, Stephen Baca. He's going to join us here on Locked On Cardinals, part of your Locked On Podcast Network. First, I got to tell you about anybody who drives and buys gas needs to know about this app. It's called Get Upside. Get the Get Upside app. They're making up to 25 cents every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app at the App Store or Google Play right now. Use the promo code Touchdown, and you'll get 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump any longer. Some people who drive a lot are making upwards of $300 a month cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back, add it right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, e-gift card, or Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app. Use the promo code TOUCHDOWN. Locked On Cardinals. Let's bring on our guy, Stephen Baca. It's been too long since we've talked to him. Stephen, thanks for joining us, man. It's great to have you joining here on Locked On Cardinals.
Glad to be here. Appreciate you guys having me back.
Listen to him. He's got that I've been training people all day, raspy voice. He's been getting after young men and women out there trying to do better for themselves. I love it. Let me ask you this. Are you surprised at all by the performance through 4 games from Kyler Murray?
No, not surprised. And we talked about, expectations of what we were looking for last time I was on. We talked about that all off season, kind of what the goals were. And he knew that there was a lot of weapons on this team for him to have access to use. And I think what you're seeing is, that there's not really an ability for any defense to key on one particular person, which really opens up his ability. And he's shown that he really doesn't care who he throws to. He doesn't care who's out there, wherever the progressions have taken him, that's where the ball goes, which I think is speaks to the development and the intelligence of kind of some things that he looked at last year, where maybe there was some times where Hopkins was kind of a forced target. Now you see, well, it doesn't matter who he's guarded. Who's out there, the progressions will take him where the ball needs to go. And it's been incredible. We're not surprised. And I almost tweeted this, but I didn't. I saved it. But we're never surprised by what's expected. And we've been expecting to be successful each and every year since we've gotten to the league, since he's been here. And so when you're able to do what you've expected to do, there's no surprise.
Yeah, Stephen Baca at Baca_Nation on Twitter. Great follow. Known Kyler Murray since sophomore year of high school. Is that about right? That if you haven't checked out, go to our YouTube and watch the 2-parter that we did. I think it was in June. Some of the best stuff you've ever heard about Kyler Murray. You can hear people that report on him. You can also hear people who know him better than he knows himself. And Stephen happens to be one of the 3 people on the planet that can say that. Now, one thing about Kyler is once he plants his back step, you're dead. That's pretty much it. And what we saw his rookie year, not so much. Sophomore year, second year, a little bit more. But now he's really comfortable going through his progressions, and he's always looking downfield, and it doesn't matter if he's running 100 meters back and forth behind the line of scrimmage. When he plants his foot, you're dead, his back foot. And we're seeing that more and more. It just may take a little bit more time. Are there specific things you work on solely for that, where it's face downfield when you're working out? Are there specific workouts that allow him to have have your body, your weight forward, backwards, what the hell ever, to keep his equilibrium in place?
Yeah, I mean, the foundation of athletic development starts at the foot. And so, we talk about a cue that I like to give him is 5 toes down. And that means simply that you're creating great contact with the ground. You're being aggressive with your foot patterns, not passive. Passive means you're just sitting with your foot in the ground. You don't really have any intention behind it. So we've trained and we've looked at his biomechanic patterns of how he runs and where he lands on his foot. And I've shown him slow-mo videos of him running and showing him, hey, this is the outside edge we're looking for on that foot. We want to find 5 toes down, and we want to find good force production angles to create force or rotational force when he throws the ball. So there's a lot of things that we do from a force production and absorption standpoint that you're going to see that transfers into it. But I really don't think that if you were to watch his tape from even an early age, you would not say, oh, he's throwing the ball different than he ever thrown the ball before. You can watch, if you ever watch him throw in a session with high school kids that are sometimes catch for him in the offseason, the ball comes out the same as it did when he was a sophomore. It's gotten stronger, but the guy's always had an incredible arm. So the things that we do focus on supporting that quality, but they don't, that arm that he's had has been far before I knew him, and all the things I've done to help create and maybe create a space for that to improve. That's the only thing I can attribute to what we do, because again, a guy like Kyler Murray is born. He's not created, right? He's born. I didn't create him. I didn't make him who he is. He was born that way. And I always say this, I just try not to screw it up. So again, the toe angles though, and then the foot foundation, that's a huge piece of how everything moves up the kinetic chain, right? To your ankle, to your knee. And that's not just for great force production, what you're seeing for him throwing the ball, but it's also for injury prevention, because 17 weeks is a long season. We want to make sure that he's continuing to play at this level throughout.
Love talking to this guy, Stephen Baca, joining us here on Locked On Cardinals. Check out the website, performancecourse.com. And, you tell us the first time we ever chatted, Kyler Murray, just very calmly, coolly, I think he was hanging out at your house. He's just like, I'm going to win the Heisman. Just going to win the Heisman. And I just got to ask,
story.
I just got to ask you, did he at any point this offseason say, I'm going to win the NFL offensive MVP?
Well, I told y'all this last time. I told y'all that we had a moment where, I was kind of pushing him and trying to get the most out of him. And I remember telling him, hey, we're chasing that MVP. And that was, kind of his response speaks to maturity that he has. As he said, we're not chasing that. I want a Super Bowl. And so if you watch his press conference after the Rams game, I think that's showing you his maturity as a leader and the way he speaks. And he said pretty clearly, this 4 games are great, but that's not the goal. And this is just part of that journey. And so throughout the offseason, we had kind of a laser focus on let's just take it one step at a time. Let's be really good in today's workout. We can't win the Super Bowl in February, right? But what we can do, I say that next February we can. But we can't win the Super Bowl in an off-season workout. But what we can do is win that rep. And we can win the next rep. And we can win that day. And then we stack those days on top of each other in the offseason. And then what you're seeing is the results of a lot of hard work. And so we never really said, hey, look, my goal is to win an MVP. I think what he wanted to do more than anything was win. We talked about he's never missed the postseason prior to these 2 seasons with the Cardinals in his life. And so all he cares about is winning. And kind of that mindset is, the individual accolades, that stuff's going to come when we put great things and stack days and stack plays and stack drives and stack games. Those individual things are going to come. And so I think what I love about his play so far is that the numbers that end up, they're a product of those specific plays. You can tell, there have been moments where he's made mistakes, but he's not forcing the ball into windows that shouldn't be forced, right? He's not trying to get stats, or he's not creating rushing touchdowns or rushing yardage out of nothing, right? He's taking exactly what's being given to him. So, I think if you saw a person who is chasing an MVP, you might see touchdown chasing. You might see certain types of runs in different positions where he's not protecting himself. But again, he's taking exactly what's being given to him. And that just speaks to the kind of team guy he is. He just wants to win. That's all he cares about.
Hell yeah. And that's exactly what I wanted to ask you next. My goal, if you could ask me what a perfect situation would be for the Cardinals this year, is for the offense to take a step forward and his rush attempts and yardage to take a step back, because that not only will protect him as a quarterback. I don't give a rip how tall he is, how big he is, whatever. He's an NFL player, pound for pound. He's been the best player on the field the majority of his career. So his ability to not be rushing unless it's 3rd and 16, scampering on the left side of the field where, you catch a linebacker, you twitch, you're gone. His ability to evolve as a quarterback, and I knew it pissed him off, and you don't have to confirm or deny this, but you could tell when he talks now, he talks with purpose, and he always has, but never really. His rookie year, he was quiet. Sophomore year, a little bit more. When he got asked about the kneeling, we talked about that. He's got teeth now during interviews. And when he talked about the running being a luxury, it's like he's pissed. He doesn't want to be a running quarterback because he's so much better than that. He's always a bit of pass for his quarterback. It just is easier when you're playing against a crapbox Texas team during the Red River rivalry to scream down the left side of the field for 75 yards for a touch to keep your team in the game. Is that a conscious decision on his part to be like, listen, I can throw as well as I can pass, man. Let me rip.
Well, I think that's you're seeing that he's not a quarterback that you can put in a box. And I think coming out, a lot of people wanted to do that, right? They wanted to say, here's a guy who's a dual threat. And really, the only reason he's a dual threat is out of necessity and talent. It's not, he really wants to throw the football. And I love this year that extending plays, which he's done always. There was a really great play last year. Maybe it was against the Lions where he twisted and ran and hit Larry Fitzgerald for 12 or 15 yards. And everybody kind of remembers that. But you're seeing him extend plays with his legs with the intention of throwing the football, right? And the only time he uses the legs or when situations presents itself, like that play against the Rams. Side note, we do a drill in the offseason where we move through the pocket with agility, okay? And then after he moves through the pocket for about 4 to 5 seconds, I give him a direction, okay? Now, I'm not an NFL player, but I have a good angle, and I sprint right at him. And the goal is I just have to touch you, okay? I not tackle him. I literally just have to touch you. So move, boom, right, or boom, left. And so as he's moving the pocket, and then I give him the clap and I point, I sprint right at him. And I play college football. I know I'm not an NFL player, but I can hold my own out there. And the move that he gave the defender, I promise you, he gave me the exact same move in an open field at 2 p.m. in March, and about broke my ankle. And I remember just kind of dapping him up afterwards, and I was like, God, I thought I had you. Like, and I'm sprinting at him, and all I got to do is I just got to touch him. Like I could just touch his shirt, and I got him down. And so I loved seeing him put that into action. I loved everybody else seeing that. That was one of my favorite plays. But yeah. Back to the question. I think what he knows is that running is a luxury. And we talked in the offseason, the more he runs, the more he runs and has rushing attempts, and you're exactly right. The more rushing attempts he has, there's probably a byproduct of the level of what we're trying to attack probably decreases. There's probably not as well of a game plan as what it should be, which is to attack the ball downfield with the weapons that you have and use that when you have to. That's what you're seeing him do. He only uses the legs when he has to, and to date, he's done a great job of avoiding any contact and getting down, which we also talk about that a lot too.
We're going to find out what Stephen Baca thinks we haven't seen from Kyler Murray that we expect to see later on this season. And we've seen a lot through 4 games, and maybe what Stephen's favorite play is so far through 4 games as well. We're going to get into that conversation here on Locked On Cardinals, part of your Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Stephen's training a lot of people, and it's important what they put in their bodies. And I don't know if you've heard about this yet, Stephen, the Built Bar. Built Bar is a delicious protein bar that matches tasty and healthy, and those worlds collide, and it's just an amazing treat. It's actually the best tasting protein bar on the market. You can get yourself a box of protein bars from Built Bar, 15% off, just by going to BuiltBar.com or Built.com using the promo code LOCK15. You'll get 15% off at Built.com using the promo code LOCK15. Alex, also real quick, you tell friends about betonline.ag.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Betonline.ag, the graphic we put out on our Twitter page yesterday was that Cliff Kingsbury was plus 750 to start the season as the first coach to potentially be fired. Now he is the odds-on favorite at plus 600 to be the NFL Coach of the Year. What the hell has happened? There's another thing that we know about betonline.ag is that Kyler Murray is not the odds-on favorite to win MVP at this current time. Doesn't matter who is, because it should be Kyler Murray. Regardless, BetOnline's your number one spot for all pro and college football action this season. They've got a new updated site and interface, more odds, props, and contests. BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. So go to the website or use your mobile device today to receive your 50% welcome bonus with promo code LOCKEDON. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. Again, go to the website for a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Use promo code LOCKEDON. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Alex Clancy, Bo Brack hanging out with you. Locked On Cardinals. Stephen Baca joins us, longtime friend Kyler Murray, and of course, trainer of Kyler Murray's. Follow him on Twitter at Baca_Nation. Check out his website, performancecourse.com.
Oh, yeah.
Been a lot of big plays from K1 this season. Tennessee, we remember the scramble around, the jump back, the poise, hitting Rondell Moore. Remember the 77-yard touchdown strike to Rondell Moore. He spins out of trouble and finds a wide open rookie wide receiver. And then most recently, I tweeted out, Stephen, it was 3rd and 16 against the Los Angeles Rams, and Kyler Murray hit a top speed of 20.07 miles per hour to pick up 18 yards in the first down. How many sessions training with you can you get me up to 20 miles per hour?
2 months. I'll get you there in 2 months, Bo. You got to do a lot of work, though. Get ready for it.
I mean, it's unreal.
I'd be a rich man if I could get you there in 2 months.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Any plays stand out to you that even had you? You've been watching Kyler far longer than we have. Anything stand out where you're just still like, wow? I can't believe he did that.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Rondell Moore play, the spin out and throw and find him down the field. I love that one. This past week, I love the AJ Green touchdown throw where you have a crossing. Christian Kirk is on an out. Maybe you have D-Hop crossing, and both of them are relatively open. But you got a one-on-one shot with a guy you trust, and you take that. I think I really like that aggressiveness, especially on the down and distance. But the best, if you're looking for a strictly football play that just says, wow, the best one is kind of a deep cross to Christian Kirk against the Titans, where he's got a guy trailing underneath him, and he puts his back foot in the ground in the middle of the pocket, right, where people were really concerned with, can he see, can he really play, can he really he puts his foot in the ground in the middle of the pocket, and he makes a throw where, Christian Kirk is bracketed, and the ball has probably a margin for error of about 1 inch, and the ball's perfectly placed. That's my favorite play this entire year. It's the one that I've watched repeatedly. As I mentioned to you guys, sometimes when I watch him play, I'm like, I don't know who that is. It's the guy that comes in, hangs out with me. It's not that person. Right. But that play, I think, what I love is speaks to who he is as a quarterback. The running stuff, that's awesome. But like y'all mentioned, he is a passing quarterback first. And when he scrambles, he looks to run and he uses his legs as a luxury. And that throw is about as good a throw as you can make. And I think it's one of his best throws this year among many. But that's one that's just like, you look at that and you watch it. I can just watch it over and over and over, just boom, right over that perfect, like I said, margin for error, maybe 1 inch. And it's got to be one of those best throws I've seen.
Yeah, man. And I've been on the AJ Green train since day one. I thought he's going to be perfect for this offense. He'll be a bookend to DeAndre Hopkins. It'll allow Christian Kirk at the time before they drafted Rondell Moore to just run rampant in the middle of the field. Kyler Murray's never had a guy like AJ Green. CeeDee Lamb was 6'2". AJ Green plays like he's 6'8". He catches everything. He can run every route in the route tree. And I think that he is probably tied with Rodney Hudson, the most important players for him on this offensive side of the ball, throwing it. DeAndre Hopkins is going to do what he does. He's going to bail people out. AJ Green, and being Old Faithful without Larry Fitzgerald being there, who he never really clicked with, and Rodney Hudson just being the guy that he trusted to block the A-gap pretty much by himself, he appreciates AJ Green. And you can tell how he plays that he appreciates, even if it's 3 or 4 catches a game, his safety valve down the field, he appreciates AJ Green being on the field, right?
There's no doubt. He had AJ out to McKinney where he throws, and he threw with him. And I remember him coming back and he just said, AJ's a demon. And that's one of his biggest praises he can give you. AJ's a demon. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, dude, that dude is unreal. He said he's 6'6", 6'5", and he moves like he's 5'10". So he was come back and he was just telling me all about kind of what this guy can do. And obviously I've watched AJ Green in Cincinnati for years and years. I'm a football guy. I watch all kinds of games, but I've watched AJ for years and years and years. And so I think what I love about the trust that they've built is, man, AJ's catch radius is out there. It's unreal. So you have DeAndre, like we mentioned earlier, where teams are going to say, you're not going to go to him. And he says, fine, and you've seen, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, those kind of little hitch routes where, he's got a guy in his back and he just says, hey, if I could just put it in this little window, AJ's going to go get it. He obviously trusts him down the field. If he's got a guy boxed in, it's one-on-one, he's going to throw it up and let AJ go do his thing. He's shown you that even on a little screen pass, or just kind of a little catch and go, that AJ can make people miss in short yardage distances and create stuff that he didn't have that option last year. And man, Rondell and Christian Kirk, and you mentioned Rodney Hudson, but I would contend the entire line. I have not seen them play this well collectively, and they've been unreal, even though there's been some mismatches, right? Some pieces that have been in and out. I haven't seen them play with this dominance. And I think that speaks to Rodney Hudson's leadership and how he gets those guys on the same page. But it's so fun to watch him protected, because early on that first year, some of the struggles that he had, as a biased fan of him and knowing him, I'm like, gosh, if we could get him some time and show what he does. And so you're seeing, hey, if you give the guy time, he's going to find where the spot is. And it doesn't matter what you do, because the Rams consistently in his career, and I'm not going to get too much into that, but consistently in his career, the Rams have given him a formula that he's not done well with. Mm-hmm. the leap that you're seeing, the progression of his intelligence, because tool-wise, it's always been there, but the progression of his intelligence has shown you the Titans threw something at him, the Vikings threw something different. Okay, Jaguars threw something different. They said, we're going to try to come with the blitz. And then the Rams threw something different. And each game was different the way he picked them apart, right? Which is the beautiful part, because you're going to keep getting different looks thrown at you. And the way he's operated has been different each and every game. And that's what I love so much about seeing that Rams defense throw the look at you that says, hey, we're coming with this. Fine. You don't want to take that. Here's AJ. Here's Rondell. Here's Christian, or whatever it is. And I think it all starts up front with those guys, and so it's just been fun to watch that progression. And man, like you said, AJ Green, demon.
I love it. We're gonna adopt that on this podcast. That's perfect, demon. We got to get to the touchdown celebration before we get out of here, but I want to kind of pay off the tease. What was something that you anticipated seeing in the 2021 season that Kyler Murray still kind of has up his sleeve?
I mean, what I think is the most important quality is being consistent. And there's been some kind of times in years past where, there's been moments where, again, I can look back to New England last year. If you remember that game where Belichick squeezed the pocket and he kind of showed this is what we want to do against him, make him throw from the pocket. Well, he took that personally, kind of like the MJ thing, right? And I took that personally. And he said, you want to beat me and make me beat you from the pocket? Bet. I'll show you. I'll beat you in the pocket over and over again. So I love the maturity there to grow in areas where he was weaker, that he felt like he had weaknesses. So I think what you're going to see, and like I said, man, from athletically, that it speaks for itself, but I think you're going to see this play being consistent. And again, I love that it's been different. It hasn't been the same, but you're going to see the consistency of decision-making. And we can already see how decision-making has gotten better each game. It did better and better and better. And I told him, I texted him after the game. I said, I think that's the best game I've seen you play from a decision-making standpoint. I said, I've seen you make better runs or I've made flashy touchdowns, but I've never seen you make better decisions throughout the entire game collectively. And I think what you're going to see that maybe he hasn't shown in the past is that consistent production of good decisions throughout the rest of the season. I'm excited to watch that.
Yeah, I absolutely thought, especially when he had thrown a pick in the second half, or the start of each second half in the first three games, there was an emphasis, and you could tell he was being smarter with the football in the second half to start against the Rams, and just dialing up good throw after good throw. Real quick before we get you out of here, Stephen, we always appreciate your time, and this isn't going to be the last time we're going to have you on the podcast, but the touchdown celebration, people call it the Baby Yoda. What are you hearing about this thing?
And real quick, before you answer, I have a bone to pick with this really quickly.
Okay.
What happened to the hop? That was my favorite thing. It didn't make any sense. That was my favorite thing. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to hop, bro. I'm going to hurdle. Because the first time I saw it was, we talked about this in the CFP against Alabama when they had scored 3 touchdowns in a row or something like that. He breaks between the best defense in college football. He's like, gotcha, bees, and he just hops into the end zone, and we saw it first and second year. What gives?
Well, I think those are situational. He hasn't had that kind of run. That's.
Don't give me that. This is a conscious decision.
No, he's not going to take a naked bootleg and do a hop when there's no one around him. I mean, come on, he's not. He understands the scenario, and this is the thing. He loves Bruce Lee. Mm-hmm. People need to understand his love for Bruce Lee. Okay, it's very deep. He loves Bruce Lee movies. He loves the man that he is. Be like water, right? That's he's zinning himself. He's being like water. He's not being Baby Yoda. He doesn't even like Star Wars. He's never even seen it. So people are always like, here's the Baby Yoda thing. I mean, no, he doesn't watch Star Wars. Although, I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan. Maybe he should. But it's the zen, man. He's centering himself. He's got the Bruce Lee thing going. He's got the paths. It's all about being water, baby.
It's all about being water. I love it. It just happened to happen. It was after Chandler Jones was poking fun at Kyler Murray, called him Baby Yoda, and they're fun back and forth, which is great about this team. And Kyler being one of the leaders there, it's just a fun 4-0 start so far. It's always fun to catch up with our guy, Stephen Baca. Of course, check him out on Twitter, at Baca_Nation. Of course, check out the website, performancecourse.com, molding, training young men and women out there at affordable prices. It's unbelievable that you're giving them these opportunities. I mean, you train one of the best football players on the planet and somebody can go out there in the Dallas area and get the same type of training and not break the bank. It's incredible what you do, man. We really appreciate your time every time you jump on with us, Stephen.
Absolutely, man. You guys are my guys now, man. I'm locked in. I just need some more positivity out of Alex. Okay, I'm gonna check Twitter. I don't need to see any negativity. I can't have it. First quarter of the game, I can't have any negativity. I gotta have
once you start giving me some free how do I get rid of my beer gut lessons, you'll get no negativity, okay? I need something out of this relation too. All right, damn it. All right?
I got you.
He's unhappy with himself, so of course he's going to be negative on Twitter.
That makes sense. We're going to have you find your water, okay? Water. We get
dehydrated.
Go watch some Bruce Lee movies and center yourself before Sunday.
You got it.
Stephen Baca, we'll talk to him.
Thanks, bro.
We'll talk to everybody else. Crossover Thursday tomorrow right here on Locked On Cardinals, part of your Locked On Podcast Network.